Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back once again to I Got Gameplay. Yes, it's me, it's Michael Burhan here. It's Michael Burhan here for episode 114 of I Got Gameplay, and it's a great show, live on Sunday night instead of the Saturday, due to the fact that it was Valentine's Day yesterday. So for all you lovely people who celebrated your Valentine's Day with the one you love, I want to say a great big fuck yourselves. No, I'm joking. I want to say a great big happy Valentine's Day to you. Because it was a great night. Valentine's Day was great. We saw the release of 50 Shades of Grey, which when I went to cinema, I went up to the clerk and said, I want to see the movie about the tea, please. And he didn't get it. And I was like, Earl Grey? Get it? 50 Shades of Earl Grey? No? My comedy is lost on you. But... See, he got it. Chris got it. He got it right now. Speaking...
I got it straight away.
Yes, speaking of Earl Grey tea, we have today, from Pixels Without Borders, he is the man himself, Mr. Chris Sanderson.
Good evening, everybody.
You sounded like a sheep there.
I'm recovering from illness.
Did you get scabies or something? Did your Valentine's Day end up with you getting a sexually transmitted disease?
I wish it did. I weren't that excited. I were at work.
Oh, you shouldn't spend the day that you should be spending with your loved one at work. That's horrendous. Speaking of horrendous, we have also Mr. Sean J. Michelin. Sean, what did you do for Valentine's Day?
I wear that with Brett. I went on a date with myself. I went out and I bought myself a prime rib steak. I bought myself 2 tall cans of Molson Canadian. And what did I have? I think I had like fried rice on the side or whatever. But I went out and bought the new Beck album on vinyl, Morning Phase. I've had it on FLAC for the last year.
Oh, I love that.
He did free release of it, for FLAC only. And so I actually went out and bought the vinyl and I sat down, drinking my beer, having my steak, cooked rare, like almost blue rare, I like it, and just relaxing, listening to Morning Phase. And then I sat down and played some Neo Geo.
I spent my time in the cinema watching that 50 Shades thing and eating Chinese food because I wanted Chinese food, so I went to a place called Pho Noodle House, which was really good, and I also had the waitress hit on me, which was another plus. So yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't go on a date. I renamed Valentine's Day Palentine's Day, so it was me and a friend basically doing our friendly stuff, going to the cinema and enjoying our time together, which I enjoyed. I think that's what you need to do sometimes. If you can't do Valentine's Day with someone, you can do it either on your own or with your friends. In the end, the only thing that matters is who loves you. And, you know, for each and every one of you, just to let you know, if you're single out there, give Michael a call and I'll set you straight. Speaking of setting you straight, I don't know how that segue worked. It is Miss Jamie Styles! Jamie, how's it going?
It's going wonderful. I spent Valentine's Day working on cosplay with my friend and my fiance, and we watched Red vs. Blue, and just kind of sat back, bitched about everything, and kind of complained that I don't think Valentine's Day should even be a thing, because, you know, you shouldn't just take one day a year and buy your loved one flowers. You should appreciate them all year round, you know?
I agree with you.
Fucking men.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's about basically spending time celebrating those that you love, you know, and you're doing it all the time. You know, if you're in a relationship out there and you happen to be with someone who loves you for you, who wants to be with you, and fucking hell, like, puts up with your crazy, because we're all crazy in the end of the day, then you should worship the ground that they walk on, and you should just enjoy your time with them. Don't have to buy them anything. You don't have to celebrate it by going to somewhere expensive. All you need to do is enjoy each other's company, and I think we tend to miss that.
Right.
You know? We tend to miss that a lot.
I actually hate it when all the guys that like if I'm dating someone, or like even now with my fiance, I actually hate it when like they want to take me out somewhere fancy or like nice. I actually get really upset because like, you know, you shouldn't feel like you have to buy my love, you know. Even he's like, I don't, I just want to do something nice for you. And I'm like, then let's go downtown to the tea house and get a cup of like a pot of tea and sit there, and it's like $6 for a pot of PG Tips, and we sit there in this really nice, it's called the English Rose. in this really nice setting. We listen to piano music, and we maybe get like a little dessert and share it, and have a nice pot of tea, and then we come home and we just kind of watch movies and stuff. That is my idea of a good date. You know?
I agree, and that's the thing. You know, like my idea of a good date is basically doing something really childish. I love doing the childish stuff. I love, like, you know, grabbing a Nerf gun and just going home and making sure that there's another Nerf gun in the house for when she comes back from work, and start going after each other, or like going after her with a water hose, or even like freaking going after with snowballs. You know, it's just having fun together and enjoying each other's company. You don't have to basically like be romantic or define what romance is. It's just basically about having two awesome people who want to spend awesome time together, and having an awesome family if you want to do that thing, or just doing awesome stuff together. You know, it doesn't matter what you want to do, it doesn't matter how you want to do it, as long as you're together. And I think people can kind of forget that when they look at movies like 50 Shades. Now, I would like to point out, I'm going to segue from the gaming news topic today and talk about the fact that I myself have been going for a very, very big rough patch. Very big rough patch. For those lovely people here, they know about it because I complain to each and every one of them. That's what friends do. They sit there and listen.
That's love right there.
That is love right there.
Exactly.
And I went to go and watch 50 Shades of Grey. Now, I watched that movie and I laughed my socks off because it's literally just some person's idea of what they think romance is. And it has no idea what it wants to be. The writing is bad, the acting is bad, the characters are really... Look, for instance, there's a guy named Jose, and there's a scene where she says to him, "No way," when he tries to kiss her. Think about that for a second, people. This book sold over freaking millions of copies. The author makes 1 million an hour from this book. From Kindle downloads, from prints, and now because of this movie she's making a huge load of... Is it a he or she? I believe it's a she. It's a she. E.L. James.
She wrote she wrote 50 Shades of Grey as a Twilight fan fiction.
Thank you.
And it got published, and which, because you can do that, you can have your own like fan fiction stuff published into like paperback and stuff like that. And so she published it on Kindle, I believe.
Yes.
To be able to be downloaded and stuff like that, and it was such a big hit that, you know, she changed some stuff around and like names and shit, and published it as 50 Shades of Grey, and the moms went nuts and said that it was like the most romantic thing ever when he
it's not
rapes her at least like twice in the book, and the dom sub relationship is very poorly miswritten.
They're really badly written characters as well, though, because like the person Anastasia, like the secondary character in this like movie or the book, should I say, is boring until she meets Christian Grey. And Christian Grey, some people said he's Batman without, like, you know, the parents' problems. But he's got all this money. No one knows what the fuck he does. They're like, yeah, I'm a super successful businessman. What do you do? I don't understand how you earn all this money, but I have appetites. And he's also, like, a lot of this could be resolved if he just bought himself a PlayStation. Literally it. He's just someone who's got loads of money, who's bored. It's been done better. Like, his character type has been done better in stuff like American Psycho or Wolf of Wall Street. You know,
I really want to see American Psycho.
It's a fucking amazing
More three-dimensional.
Believe it or not, I have a friend who actually uses that movie as porn because he's attracted to Christian Bale.
Ew! Yeah. Sorry.
So, yeah, he faps to American. He faps to American Psycho.
That's just like my... Oh god, I've tried to hold that in, but that was... Oh, ew! Oh god, no, not Christian Bale!
Yep. And it's when Bale says, like, shut up and eat your asshole. That's when he does it. So there you go. That image is now in your head. That image is now in your head. But yeah, like, it's been done, like, if you... And you know, Jamie was saying as well, like, you've got movies like The Secretary, is it? That do the BDSM thing a lot better. 50 Shades of Grey, in all intents and purposes, is The Room with more PR, better PR, and a bigger distribution unit. It's funny.
Oh god, I hope with better acting.
No, the acting is just as bad.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
There's no riff tracks in this.
Just as bad. Just as bad. The characters are... You can't they're literally, it's so surreal that you cannot find yourself in these characters. It's like the submissive Anastasia. There's like points where he buys her shit and there's no, oh, my laptop's broken, and then suddenly some dude's in her house fixing her a new laptop. Or, you know, come outside, I've got a graduation present for you. Brand new car! What happened to my old car? Oh yeah, I just got it towed and it's been sold for money. And it's just like, what the fuck? And it's literally, the whole thing is supposed to be a love story set around the BDSM thing, and they fall in love because of it. It's more the fact, if you watch this film, if you actualize it, it's a rich stalker dude with no time, with literally too much free time on his hands, who is a control freak, who ends up stalking this young virgin, who he ends up basically being her first, and, you know, just ends up whipping her and smacking her bottom constantly, to the point where she's really upset about it. It's not a good movie. It's not a good movie. It's certainly not something, if you want to take your partner to it and think, this is going to be romantic, we're going to have sex after this. No, you're not. You'll probably wet yourselves, so you're going to have that problem on top of it. And it literally has no merit. There is no self-worth in this movie. Currently 26% on Rotten Tomatoes. 26%. So there are movies that are worse than this one.
It is actually now categorized as worse than Avatar: The Last Airbender on IMDb. I want you all to think about that.
Avatar has better acting, believe it.
Yeah, it's like, think about it before you want to see this movie.
And the sex scenes are worse than Watchmen.
So in other words, I should be smoking a doober and watching this instead of, if you're going there with the toy, fuck the hell with the toy and smoke.
The Wicker Man is a far better movie than this. And think about it this way, that movie was boring up until the point where Nicolas Cage freaks out and starts punching women in the face. And does it in a bear suit. Right?
What the fuck?
You know what? Jamie, me and you need to sit down on Skype and watch some of these movies, and I will show you. These are hilarious. But yeah, if you're gonna watch 50 Shades of Grey, I would advise you to watch it when it's out on DVD. I wouldn't advise anyone to go to the cinema and watch this. No offense. If you're in for a laugh,
I would encourage people to fucking pirate it. Don't spend your money. Don't give them your money. Don't encourage it.
As someone who's a part of the film industry, and Jamie is as well, because I know you've been filming a new film, a new 48-hour film, so I wouldn't advise you guys to go out there and do that. And the reason being is, you support the film industry no matter what. You support the actors that have done this film, you support the director and whoever's in it. But I will say this film is not good. It's not good. So if you're going to rent it when it comes out, rent it, watch it with your friends. You'll find it fucking hilarious. I expected to go into the cinema thinking it was the most awkward experience that I was going to ever have, because I'm going in there with a friend of mine, you know, to watch a kind of a love story. It ends up turning into me and her busting a gut, laughing our heads off because the film was that bad. So enjoy. That's my take on it, guys. I'm going to do a movie file on it. We'll probably end up doing a riff tracks on it as well. Just so that we can talk about this movie. It's the best, worst movie I've ever seen, but you have to go into it not expecting sheer quality. There is no quality in this movie. This movie has lack of quality. The only thing that I think stands out is the fact that Danny Elfman did the soundtrack, and he just sounded like he wasn't bothered. He just put loads of... He's like, what's love? Let's put some Sinatra in there. Let's put this this version of I've Got a Spell on You in there. You know that one where that guy goes, I got a spell on you and now you're mine? It's like, has that whole thing. It's like, we want to make it sound like they're rumping and pumping. And then that version of Crazy in Love as well. It's just... It looks pretty. That's probably the only thing that's going for it. But it's hilarious. It was a fun film to watch in terms of being extremely, exceptionally bad. And I think people can probably create party games and drinking games for this movie. but don't expect cinematic gold because you're not going to get it. Right, so going on from that, I want to basically talk about bad games we love, because that's the reason why I segued from that. That's a bad movie that I loved, everyone else probably hates, but we can talk about bad games that we love that everyone else hated. Now, the rules of this is to talk about games that you know people hate. Stuff that you know that people just don't like, that they would just make you want to vomit, but you loved it. Each and every one of you loved it. So we can start basically from myself as well. And I want to talk about this fun little game that I kind of enjoyed, but I didn't enjoy. It's like I enjoyed it, but I knew that everyone else hated it. And the game for me that I basically enjoyed, for instance, is a game known as Sonic Boom. Yeah.
God, are you serious?
I did. I enjoyed it because I played it with my kids. It was an enjoyable little game.
Okay.
You had the various Sonic levels. It was easy for them to play. Was it bad? Yes. Was it buggy? Of course it was fucking buggy. But they watched a TV show. I watch it as well with them. The TV show is hilarious, by the way, if you haven't seen it. It's shorts, basically. Little short sequences comprised with Sonic and his friends and Dr. Robotnik getting into trouble. There's even one where he ends up living with Sonic and Tails. From that, we played the game, and it was enjoyable. Very, very enjoyable. I had so much fun, like playing it with the kids because the minions thought it was great. They found it easy to control. I could control it using the tablet controller. They were using the Pro controllers, and it was fun. It was a nice experience all around. But I know a lot of people hated it, and they consider it the worst game, bar Sonic 06. Worse than Sonic 06. Think about that, people.
Yeah.
So, we'll now go over to you, Mr. Jamie Styles. Name your game.
Resident Evil 6. Everyone hated that game, and I see why, but I still really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed playing it when I finally got it. I mean, I play it with my fiance, and we co-op it. And we have a lot of fun with the characters. You know, we enjoy seeing all of the characters in one game. Do we know that it was horrible compared to some of the other games? Yes, but I don't think it was as bad as many others think that it is. I mean, there was too many campaigns, it was too long, and they had way too many timed events. And at this point, they're trying to feel out where they need to take the survival horror genre. And so they've got that to compete with.
Well, they've managed to do that now because they've split them up into the Revelation series, and they've got the main series, which no one knows if the main series is continuing after this game.
It is. There is a Resident Evil 7 in the works. And also there has also been a game, like a script leaked for Resident Evil Advanced Veronica.
Advanced Veronica? What's that one about?
Yes.
Is that based on Code Veronica?
Sure. We don't know. It was leaked on the internet from the actual Capcom website for a hot maybe 5 minutes. Like, it was an accident, and someone accidentally leaked it on the actual Capcom website. It was official. Someone managed to grab a screenshot of it, and it was like Resident Evil Advanced Veronica or something of that nature. And that one, and also Resident Evil 7 has been confirmed, and they did confirm that Revelations 2 is not Resident Evil 7.
Okay, yeah,
because
Revelations
they
2.
Have confirmed,
yeah, I was at the event.
They have confirmed that Jake's story is continuing in Resident Evil 7.
Yeah, apparently he's going to be continuing. There's no certainty in regards to Leon or Chris as of yet, but I think if you don't have Leon in it, you're nuts. He's probably one of the best developed characters in the Resident Evil series.
My opinion on Resident Evil 7 is that I think it's going to be Jake and Ada as the main campaigns. Because at the end of Resident Evil 6, we see Jake going into what looks like the Middle East. And then we see Ada, who gets a phone call and says, "A new job? Yeah, my schedule just opened up." And so I think those two are going to be the main campaigns, with maybe Leon in there as well, because he has to return Ada's compact.
Okay. So now let's go on to... So tell us why the reason that people hated Resident Evil 6.
The people hated Resident Evil 6 was people actually hated Jake. They hated Jake They hated all of the timed events, the quick time events, which is understandable because there were way too many. There were so many that it actually took them. It kind of takes you out of the game experience itself. But they also hated the virus, and I think the virus did a pretty cool thing because it was mixing Veronica and the G virus, which, if you don't know about the lore, that's basically two scientists who hated each other, and their virus did something fantastic. It was way too long. Also, it had way too many campaigns. To play this entire game, it's ungodly. I mean, if you go and look on a walkthrough, it's going to be about as long as a Grand Theft Auto 5 walkthrough. It's going to be about 60 plus parts to play this entire game. It's insane, and then you have ADAs on top of that. But everything else, I think with Resident Evil 6, they were feeling their way around after 5, because 5 was just, they were running full force and they hit the wall, face first. So I think that with 6, with each campaign, you can tell it plays a little differently. There's different tactics you have to use. And I think with that, what they were trying to do was they were trying to see whose campaign got the better ratings to kind of see where they needed to take Resident Evil 7 at that point.
Okay. So in terms of the reason everyone hated the game, it's more the fact that they felt that it's kind of gone the Michael Bay route instead of using the whole survival horror route. It's more run and gun, right? Yeah.
Right.
I've played the game myself. My favorite campaign out of the lot is actually Leon's campaign. I like it. Yes. I feel there's a lot more emotion towards it. Wesker's son, there's not enough character development. We don't know enough about him.
Exactly.
And Chris's campaign as well, it's the steroidal Chris campaign.
Yeah.
Chris feels very emotive and got these huge bulking biceps for some reason.
Oh god, it's just my only problem with the game itself was I don't like Chris Redfield, so I can't talk for his campaign because my opinion on his campaign is that Piers carried the entire campaign, and I think that he was killed off way too soon. I think they could have used him. Yeah. My opinion on Jake is that Jake and Sherry's campaign would have been fantastic if they had their own campaign.
Yeah.
If you look back through the pivotal moments in their campaign, people have actually gone through and compared them to screenshots of William Birkin and Albert Wesker in Resident Evil 0 and Resident Evil Umbrella Chronicles.
Yeah.
And they're identical. They basically put Jake and Sherry in scenes that their fathers had been in before them. And I think that they would have gotten a lot more character development and that they would have been a lot better characters had they been given their own campaign and not their father's campaign.
Okay. So Chris, what about you? What game have you loved that everyone else hated?
There's been quite a few, but one that sticks out immensely is Watch Dogs.
Yes, I hated that game with a passion.
Yeah.
Tell us the reason why people hated it first.
I think the reason why people hated that game, and I can completely understand it from just a general standpoint, it were overhyped to the point of no return. Basically, it's like they got Peter Molyneux talking for them.
Yeah.
They promised all these things. They promised it to be a true next-gen game, which it does some nice things, but it's not true next-gen. And to be honest, the only true next-gen game at the minute is Drive Club, but we're not talking about that.
Yeah, the thing is as well with that is there's one thing that you should never do if you're going to make a game that you think is going to overshadow a game that is amazing and impeccable. Never use the word killer at the end of it. So, one thing that Ubisoft kept saying, it's going to be a GTA killer. Don't do that.
Never use that.
Because Rockstar makes Sublime. Look what they've done with the Max Payne series. Look what they did with every single game they've put out. Fuck, they made table tennis look appealing. Right?
That game was amazing.
It was fucking amazing. For table tennis people. and you put out a game, you say it's going to be so fucking amazing, it's going to be a GTA killer, and then you need more time to develop this game because it was originally going to be released as soon as the PS4 was going to be released, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
then it got pushed back, and then the Wii U version got cancelled, and then re-put on the cards, and now it's finally released, and nobody cares.
Yeah. Then again, the Wii U version never got cancelled though; it got released. But they released it.
I know it got released, but it was like cancelled in limbo, and then it just appeared out of nowhere.
Yeah, and they didn't promote it, and they're like, "We're not putting the DLC for it." Again, if you're going to release a game on the Wii U and then you release it on the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation versions, and then you give DLC with those, but you don't give DLC with the Wii U one, which one are people going to pick? Think about it, Ubisoft. Yeah, they're going to pick the one with the DLC. That's moronic. You know, you could do what like they did with the Batman Arkham, Arkham City game on the Wii U. Was they didn't like add DLC to it. They just packaged it with the game. So you had all the DLC, you had everything in it. It's on the disc. It's with everything for the price of the game. And this was after the release on the initial Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 releases, and the game sold well because it was a new take on a game that was released on another console. Now, why did you like the game?
I liked it just because the general content of the game, not the story. The story was okay, it wasn't amazing, but the general, like the content of it, the hacking, the controlling the city, so to speak, and also like a lot of people either played the game so far or played it a little bit and gone, no, this is bullshit. It's not what they said it were. Fuck Ubisoft, and all that shit. But I played it past the point of the credits. I did all the extras. I found out the extra story, spying on people and things like that. That's the part of the game that they got right, the aftermath. And it was it was probably one of the better sandbox experiences I've had. I prefer Watch Dogs to GTA, but I also prefer Saints Row to GTA. GTA in terms of sandbox games, that's the one I go for last.
Well, GTA 5 and GTA Online were amazing sandboxes. And compared to Watch Dogs, which was more linear, you couldn't really do much unless you were using the hacker mechanic, which was the one thing that kind of stood out from the game. What changed? What differed your experience to like everybody else's?
I think it's just because I've always been a bit of a tech head with things like that, and I've always been fascinated, with hackers, the intricacies of it, how it's done, what happens, and things like that. And with Watch Dogs, a lot of people like, I want the hacking to be more intricate and things like that. And yeah, I can see that. But everybody's saying, I don't want the one-button hacking. But that's not far from actual real life, from some incidences, what happened where one guy actually drove through traffic lights, controlling them just with his laptop, just by pressing a button or two, controlling them so they go green. And he was connecting to like electrical nodes as he was driving, and he was managing to control the traffic, just like in Watch Dogs. Obviously, this was long before Watch Dogs and things like that. But I just like the idea of it. I like the whole context of it. And it's also quite frightening as well how close it is to real life with CTOS, like the operating system that controls the city, that you can connect to cameras, you can watch people, you can scan anybody, and it'll tell you how much they earn, what hobbies they're into, whether they're about to commit a crime, whether they're about to be a victim, what music they like. Everything comes up, all personal profiles. And I found that quite unique to be having. I never come across anybody who was the same.
Okay. So why do you think people hated it so much, apart from the whole GTA killer thing? Chris? Okay, Chris's call's dropped, guys. We're going to move on to you, Sean. Sean, name us a game.
I was chewing on a spearmint leaf there. Flat out Ultimate Cars for the PC, pretty much, because it's buggy. Plain and simple. It's if it wasn't for the bugs and a little bit of the game mechanics, it'd be probably a game of the year kind of racing game. But unfortunately, there are a few things in there, and it has issues with his internet drop. There he is again. It's funny you could have the chance of locking bumpers with one of your co-racers, and what happens is the cars stick together. But it's buggy. You can accidentally T-bone somebody, and you can't shake them off yourself or anything like that. Or you lock the bumper with somebody in front of you, and they start spinning off. Their car could physically not be even touching you, and it's dragging you in the direction they're going. And as well, it has problems. It's an old game. It's meant for Pentium 4s, and I'm playing it on a laptop that's 3 years old, and it can't run it any higher than 480p.
Okay. So the bugs were the thing that ruined the game.
Little things too, sorry, I'm trying to get the fucking spearmint leaf out of them. They were on sale, so I bought a big bag of them. I'm just eating copious amounts of them as I'm talking.
I was hearing the packet opening up.
Yeah, no, this is a big bag of McCormick's. Pretty much they had that gut-busting saw of rock that was really annoying. I went in, I physically deleted those songs and made new OGG files because that's what the format they're in are. And or I'll use Foobar or some music player for listening to my own music. And the multiplayer was very dependent upon Windows Live, which is now dead. And only select Windows Live titles got grandfathered support through Steamworks. So, sadly, the online component, which they ran and raved about, really focused the game on, fell off.
Are they transition over to Steam, or do you think that's just dead? Are they going to transfer it over to Steam in terms of the live component, or is it just dead?
No, it's one of the games that they chose not to. Some games that were popular in the Windows Live system when they were shutting down Windows Live there about a year ago, they transferred over to Steam. Not all of them made it though, and Flat Out Ultimate Carnage is one of them. You can still log in to access your profile in the game, play the single player campaign.
That's annoying.
It's annoying, but no, I'm still doing a lot of the game actually out yet because I try it with different cars, different vehicles, and it is fun. I like sitting down and even on my little tower that I got, it's a bit older, but at the same time, it's got some more than adequate components to be able to play games. And my second monitor is the CRT, and I play it on the CRT because then I can run it at bog settings, and it runs fine. I have it running at 480p, 640 by 480p through S-Video. My other monitor is my 32-inch flat panel there. But sit down with the 360 controller, my office chair here in front of the CRT, and I'll have my playlist is a bunch of different things. It's I Can't Turn You Loose by from the Blues Brothers movie. Come Play With Me by Extreme, Foggy Mountain Breakdown by Earl Scruggs and Steve Martin and Company. What's another song that I have there? Neutron Dance. I also have select racing songs and chase music from certain movies and that. Daytona USA theme is on there as well. It's a very much it is a Burnout clone. It's actually Bugbear made it. The version for 360 is actually pretty good. But then it got ported to the PC, and it was actually farmed out to another company. It wasn't Bugbear that made it. It was Team 6, who are renowned for making a lot of PC shovelware. So
yeah, they are.
Sadly, they kind of bodged it up, right? So, and they used some lib files that were only compatible with the hardware they had, pretty much. So, unless you had a beast video card, you weren't really going to run it that good. But I enjoy Jason Honey from AGG and his own channel there. He ran a rave about it. We were supposed to get a match in before they killed the Windows Live service, but we never got around to it, sadly.
So,
yeah.
Okay. That sounds really good. It's a shame that all those issues led to the game kind of basically dying, which is a shame, because when stuff like that happens, you really, especially when games rely heavily on their online modes, it kind of kills the gaming experience. So I'm going to do my next one in terms of the games that I've liked that nobody else has. It's a game basically on the Amiga. A lot of people used to hate this game, but at the same level, people liked it. It was basically at the time where they had like fighting games going on. I'm just trying to think about what it was called. It was on the Amiga CD.
Body Blows.
Body Blows. Thank you. Yes, Body Blows Galactic. I played this game first when I was a kid. The control scheme is really bad. It's slow in terms of like you got better fast-paced games with like Street Fighter, the Mortal Kombat franchise. These were games that were made for consoles. This was based on the PC. Kind of a PC thing with the Amiga. And it could be pirated very, very easily. Good game. Questionable in terms of the control scheme. I think that was made by Team 7 as well. Again, it was fun. It was fun, especially when I was kicking my brother's butt. And there wasn't really much to it. Very linear. People hated it because, well, there was other better fighting games out there. I loved it because I just enjoyed as a kid playing this game and beating the crap out of my bros. So, Jamie, next game.
Oh gosh. I would have to say that my next one is probably really embarrassing. I really enjoyed Poke Park for the Wii.
Oh, that's not embarrassing.
What's embarrassing is that was kind of my first Pokemon game.
Ah,
See,
okay.
there it is.
So her poker virginity
See, there it is.
was lost on that one, I think.
Yeah.
Okay,
So yeah, that's.
Why
yeah.
does everyone hate
That's
it?
where it gets embarrassing. Everyone hates it because it's just like you run around as Pikachu and you just meet these friends and you make more and more Poke friends in the Poke Park and you try to save the Poke realms from being Poke killed. I was trying to be clever, but it didn't happen. And I just really love it.
You Poke sucked at that.
You poker suck.
Ha 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 ha. But I really enjoyed it. You know, you do these you can do different games with each Pokemon. Like to become their friend, you either have to race them, or you have to play hide and go seek, or things like that. And it's really like a kid's game, but I really enjoy it. And I've played it probably 4 times all the way through, and I get really obsessive about meeting all of the Poke friends that you can meet, and I still haven't met all of them yet, and it really pisses me off. Because I just get really obsessive.
So, you basically you loved it because you're obsessed over the game. It's addictive. People hated it because it's not really seen as a proper Pokemon game.
Yeah,
and it's seen
much.
more as cutesy and kiddie type of game, which most of the Pokemon games are. A lot of them do go dark though, if you look in the Poke lore. But I think we'll save that for another episode. Yeah, and it's it's like there's for some reason a lot of Pokemon in Japanese kidnap children. I don't know if the Japanese just tend to do that to scare their kids, or
it seems like it's in their culture, like the stories to scare the kids so they won't go out at night or whatever.
Very much so. Yeah, it's pretty bad. So Chris. Next game that you loved that everyone else hated.
Yeah, hopefully my internet fucking holds up this time. The one game that I really love is Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City.
So tell us the reason why everyone hated it.
Because they say it weren't a Resident Evil game. It weren't survival horror, all that usual cop-out bullshit. Resident Evil hasn't been survival horror since 3. I'm going to say that
Thank
outright.
you.
4 wasn't survival horror. 4 wasn't
Thank
survival
you,
horror.
it wasn't.
The 4 was really good though.
4 were good, I'm not saying 4 were bad. I think 4, 5 and 6 quality games, I really like them all. But Operation Raccoon City...
Do you know 4 was originally supposed to be about ghosts? I think they should have done a lot more with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was yeah.
It should have, but the beta, because I was looking at the beta. Check out Yuri of Wind's channel, by the way, youtube.com/Yuri of Wind. He does some good gaming mysteries and stuff, and he has also talked about the fact that some Pokemon are really weird and kidnap your kids. You know what? That would be scary if we lived in the world of Pokemon. That would be scary.
Don't want a Pokemon kill you in your sleep or something like that.
Do you know what I mean?
I want a Jigglypuff.
Or eat your dreams.
Yeah, but then Jigglypuff might attack you and eat your flesh.
Jigglypuff.
Oh!
That's classic.
That is actually really scary, the way that you're singing it. I'm just saying.
that was quite.
But see, when he falls asleep, you're just gonna draw magic marker penises all over his face.
Or you're gonna grow like one thing that Alpha Omega Sin did. He actually showed a tortoise mating with a shoe, and the thing's penis looks like a fucking fish. It looks like a stingray. I was scared for my life. I was like, if a tortoise tried to bang me, that's what I would see.
Oh my God.
I would. You know what? I'm glad there's no gay tortoises. Just saying. Just saying.
You remind me of that John, the Seth MacFarlane comedy cavalcade. Name that animal penis.
Yes, name that animal penis. Yes. But I gotta say that I agree with him on this one. I did actually like Operation Raccoon City.
It was
I never got
awesome.
to play it.
And the one thing a lot of people forget about Resident Evil, and I've thought it since day one. Like, generally the storyline, how it's gone, there's no other way the games can progress. It's come to the point where it's a world outbreak. It's not survive. It's not hiding behind corners anymore. It is fighting for your life with whatever bullets you can find.
It's basically like
abundance of bullets.
It's like you're dealing with the Ebola virus or something, or you're dealing with like a fucking one of these. What's the one that's going on at the moment? It's the Ebola, isn't it? It's Ebola now. Yeah.
Ebola's the one that's going on. And ironically, to create the G virus, William actually looked up the Ebola virus and was obsessed with it, and that's how he kind of made it evolve and stuff like that. So.
But yeah, with Raccoon City, you're controlling like a crack SWAT team, and they all have different abilities. It's kind of like a RPG in a way, because everybody's got their own special talents and abilities. But it's a game to play with friends. Play it by yourself. It is boring. It is very boring. But to play it with friends, I played it with a group of friends on the hardest difficulty, and my God. It is a real challenge. It is real. I suppose you can say, in a way, it is survival horror, because you come to standoffs where you've got to try and survive for 2-3 minutes. Zombies climbing in all over, people trying to kill you. Yeah.
That one level where you have to stand off against the hunters. Oh my God, I'm stuck there. Actually, because I was a dumbass and I used my flamethrower on the zombies because I didn't know that there were hunters coming, and then I see all these containers falling. I'm like, what is this? And the hunters come out and I'm like, oh my God, I'm fucked.
Sounds
That's it, and there's times where you're standing off with your friends and you run out of ammo and you're like, shit, what do I do? Melee attacks do fuck all.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You can hit one in the face, you hit one, 5 jump on you.
Yeah,
and
pretty much.
It's just an awesome little spin-off game.
So you feel that people just didn't really understand it and they compared it to the original series. That's the problem.
I think that's the problem with a lot of things. People need to take off the rose-tinted glasses and appreciate for what it is and what it's actually doing, because Raccoon City, as I said, you're controlling the crack SWAT team. You come across Hunk at the beginning, and he helps you escape from Nemesis, and it just progresses from there. But yeah, it was literally run. You had no choice. Run. You could try and shoot him and take him down, but you are 99% going to fail.
Oh
you
yeah,
have
it was
to run.
Absolutely horrifying.
And it's one funny thing I find about Resident Evil, and I don't mean to insult any hardcore Resident Evil fans, Umbrella and everybody involved with like the G virus, T virus, everything. They have no agenda.
No, they don't.
It's the only bad guy in video game and probably movie, book, just entertainment history. The bad guys with no agendas.
They have people inside it. They have people inside it with an agenda.
The only people who had an agenda in the Resident Evil, like in Umbrella, was Spencer wanted to create the Wesker children to make the world what he wanted. And make a new human race. That was his agenda. Wesker and Birkin, not really. They just kind of wanted... It was kind of like, so what do we want to do today? I don't know, just fuck me up.
Yeah, that's it. What we're going to do today? Well, I'm bored today. Let's make it an easy Sunday morning. Let's just go fuck shit up.
Yeah, pretty much.
And get some special forces teams involved.
So,
but Raccoon City, I loved it just because the pure feeling of teamwork. There's no better than when you're fighting with your friends and you do some amazing shit just to get out of a tight situation. There's no better feeling, and to play it on the hardest difficulty as well is even more satisfying.
So let's go into Sean. What's the game that you hate, that you loved, that everyone else hated?
Well, I believe I was saying earlier about Flat Out Ultimate Carnage there. Just were so bloody buggy, and the music's not quite good, and the Windows Live. But another one that I know a lot of people give Mighty Final Fight some fucking hate, and I love the shit out of the game.
What's Mighty Final Fight about?
That game's amazing.
It's on the NES. It's like chibi style version. Side-scrolling beat 'em up of Final Fight, but it's Mighty Final Fight, and they're chibi style. It has the move leveling like it does in the original Double Dragon, but in a good way.
Okay, so explain the reason why people hate it.
No, some people just think it's substandard to Final Fight, right? How Final Fight is, especially if you play the arcade version. I played shit of it on my Raspberry Pi, and I speak about it with some people like, oh, I don't really like that game that much. Oh, this is like Double Dragon. It's like, and how is that different from any other fucking beat 'em up? But yeah, some people give that some hate. I don't go out of my way for some games that people hate that I love, but usually pretty amicable like that. But yeah. I'm liking Dante's Inferno on the PSP as well, but I've been playing a lot of homebrew lately, so I've been trying to find some good gems in there really to share, but unfortunately I've been playing that too much.
My next one for me would be the game known as Lollipop Chainsaw. Now this one was written by James Gunn, directed by Suda51. It was panned universally. It was actually distributed by Warner Brothers. The game is a very short hack and slash type game where you're basically playing a very young cheerleader who keeps talking about the fact that she's a teenager and she's above the legal age of consensual sex, because you have to, if you're undressing them with your eyes, that's what you want. A lot of it was due to the fact that people had an issue with the whole dress thing that she does. The fact that you could see you get an achievement by looking up her skirt, that you're objectifying her. But if you put all that aside, it is a very fun hack and slash. It reminds me of games like No More Heroes, for instance, where you're going in there, you're chopping things up, and you're moving on to the next level. It could be completed. I completed it within 2 days, but that's when I was taking spurts. I'd play it for 5 hours, put it down, play it for another 5 hours. So basically 10 hours, the game's done. If you can actually, it does have a bit more replay value if you want to get the good ending. I got the bad ending, which was where we got to the house and turns out that her mum has been turned into a zombie and everyone freaked. So people hated it. As I said, they felt like it was objectifying, it was too short, it was a bad Suda game, when I felt it was everything that Suda had, but with a nice little American take to it as well. And I did love the music. I love the music style as well, that helped. So, what about you, Jamie? What's your next game that you loved that everyone else hated?
Oh gosh, now I actually have to start trying to think here. I don't know. Like I don't know if I actually like another one that everyone else hated. I can't really think about one. Come back to me.
Okay. Chris, what
Come
about
back to
you?
me.
Shit, I had one in my. Oh, it wasn't. I'd say it wasn't well received, but I liked it over a majority of like the hate that it received, which is Warhammer Dawn of War 2 on the PC.
Mm-hmm.
That was hated all because of games for Windows Live.
Okay.
People saying it broke the system. It's not as good as Dawn of War 1. It's not as deep. It would just, I suppose you can say it were a lot of like PC like strategy elitists. It's like, oh, I'm gonna go back to Warcraft. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. But yet you're still playing Dawn of War 2. If you're gonna complain about something, complain. Leave it alone. Don't continue to play it and carry on complaining. It doesn't make sense. But to me, I loved it because it was an easy to get into strategy game. I'm not the biggest strategy game fan. I do enjoy games like StarCraft and so on. But Dawn of War just clicked with me, and the intro as well. It's one of those games where I can boot it up and watch the intro every single time and not be bored. And later on down the line, when the game was practically dead, unfortunately, they introduced a co-op mode, which was really fucking cool. And it was just horde mode, but you chose a hero sort of thing. I can't remember what they call them now in Dawn of War, but you chose like a commander, and they all had their certain abilities. They level up, you fight the hordes and so on. But the story on it as well was really good, and I still need to pick up the expansion pack and play it, which I think is Chaos Rising.
By the way, I want to say a great big hello to Josh Loves Stuff. Hello, Josh Loves Stuff. You subbed me on Nerd Genius on my YouTube channel, The Nerd Genius. A great big hello from you from us guys at I Got Gameplay. So yeah, Chris, continue.
But it sadly just like the fans of the first game just instantly dismissed it because of games for Windows Live. And when they actually played it, they dismissed it even further because it was simplified. It was one of those games. It had been made simpler, but it had the depth if you looked for it. Just like any simple game can have if you dig deeper into it.
No, of course.
And it would just. It's like the same with. It's the same with a lot of games, but. It's just sad to see that people instantly dismiss sequels because of a feature or something that they like generally don't like, or if they change a class or a certain action, if they change it to what they're used to for like high level tournament play, it's because they're too lazy. They don't want to learn something new. That's how I see it, and it's just sad because it still is a great game, and it's one of the few, like we were talking about earlier with Flat Out Ultimate Carnage, which didn't get brought over to Steamworks.
Yeah.
Dawn of War 2 recently has. And it's gotten a little surge of popularity because it's not using games for Windows Live anymore, but it's still, I'd say, universally like hated. It's not a loved game, sadly.
Now, going on from that, Chris, to Sean. Sean, a game that you loved that everyone else hated. I've got my next one. My next one is kind of a popular opinion that people they hated this game unanimously, but a few people like myself and Rodman loved it. But I'll talk about that in a minute. So, Sean, what's the game that you loved that everybody else hated?
I know what you're gonna say.
I know you know what I'm going to say.
And Justice League Task Force for the Super Nintendo, I gotta admit, like some people gave it some hate because it was just like some fighter ripoff, and it wasn't very good, and the controls were stiff. But I liked it. I learned to work with the controls pretty good, and me and my friends just sit down like you watch Superman, Batman beat the shit out of each other. It was Injustice like 15 years ago, not quite as good in 16-bit, but. Yeah, I liked it. I liked those games, and was it the Death and Return of Superman as well? A few people gave a bit of shit.
I like that game.
But really, I liked it too. It was like a clone of that Aliens game for the arcade.
It was the same.
The Capcom made.
It was the same kind of company that made that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Sunsoft.
Yeah. Because they got a license at one point. They had the license for a lot of the kind of DC licenses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember watching actually on the GameSack show there. The boys were talking about some unreleased games, and Sunman or something like that was one of them. It was supposed to be a Superman game by Sunsoft, and it was kind of loosely based on the arcade game or what have you. And you can see like where they just did a sprite redraw of it afterwards, and then they said, "Shank, we can't release it," because it was around when they had lost the license for a little while, and so they had changed it to Sunman. Then they got the license back around the Super Nintendo era, and Justice League Task Force and Life and Death and Return of Superman were released then, with a couple others. Yeah, this was long ago. Sunsoft even around? No, they're not, are they?
No, they closed their doors recently. Which is a shame. Now, moving on from that one, a game I loved that everyone else hated. Who wants to take a guess?
I think I've already got it. I'll let the others take a guess first.
Jamie, take a guess.
Oh gosh, I
did a review on it on my channel, youtube.com/TheNerdGenius with Robman.
Oh,
Shooter.
Oh, I know what it is. I know what it is,
by
but
Activision.
I can't remember.
It's made by the same lovely people who made the Halo series.
Oh.
Can you guess Josh Love Stuff? Can you guess Josh Love Stuff? Can you guess it? No, he's not talking on the chat. It is... Okay. Chris, go on. You tell the world.
Sims 3, no. Destiny.
Destiny, pretty much. Destiny was a game that was severely overhyped by Activision and the lovely people who also made the Halo series by the name of Bungie, and for some reason people just went crazy when they saw the game. They didn't like the fact that in order to embrace the story, you had to use the QR cards. You had to basically go online, read about the game. You had to do a bit more in-depth research in order to understand the game. And a lot of people hated the fact that it had online multiplayer, which I'm not a fan of online multiplayer. I think a game shouldn't be reliant on the online component only. I think a game needs to be built around both online and offline components in order to work proper. Because just in case if the online component goes, then you're going to need a lot more to do with the game, otherwise it's useless. Titanfall, for instance. But with this game, I got a review copy from Activision, played the hell out of it, and enjoyed it. I have to admit, it was fun. I loved the targeting system, the way that the game worked, the fact that you could do all these little heist missions, you play with friends. It was extremely enjoyable. At the moment, the reason I haven't been playing it is because I haven't had time to do anything, which is a shame, Most of my time spent either basically writing or producing stuff or making content or watching the WWE Network. So I haven't had time for that. I've been playing a little bit of Dragon Age though. And, it's a great game. I enjoyed it wholeheartedly, and I felt that it had everything going for it of a well-made, presented game. I just think people got extremely butthurt when it wasn't, where a lot of stuff was missing, because they packaged it in DLC and stuff. Still a great game, very enjoyable. The only thing that I wish that the game did have, which I kind of agree to people, is that it did cross-platform. I've got a PlayStation 3 version. I wish that I could go on heists with Rob Man, who's on the PS4 version. It would make things a lot more easier. But still. Jamie, do you have a game for us?
I do. I thought of one. One that I like that everyone else seems to not like is Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines.
Okay. Is that one? That was the one on the PlayStation, was it?
I think it was either PlayStation or PC. I'm
Okay.
not entirely sure.
Tell us a bit about the game
Yeah,
and explain why
PC
people
now.
hated it.
People didn't like it because it was super buggy. Like, oh my god, it was buggy. It was one of those games where you got multiple quests and you had to seek out the story and you go to the different quests and basically it was a quest game. That's all. But pretty much it boils down to that. But the story is really cool once you get into it. I watched. I actually cannot play it because I really think it's on PC and my laptop is completely utter shit. And I would love to actually be able to play it, but I watched Cryotic on YouTube play it, and that was one of the coolest playthroughs I've ever seen in my life. It's like, you start off as like this little fledgling vampire, and basically you're taken and made a vampire pretty much without your permission, and you go up before
Non-consensual!
this.
Non-consensual!
Yeah,
Bad
pretty
touch!
much.
Bad touch!
And so you go before this board of vampires, and there's this one vampire, LaCroix, who is over everything, and he says, we didn't want this, and now we have you to babysit. No one taught you how to be a vampire. And so you're going through trying to be a vampire and trying to learn your way through things and trying to find the one who made you a vampire and trying to find your master. Through this, you find out that there's all sorts of there's corrupt natures going on, and there's bad things that LaCroix is doing, and you have to try and choose a side between LaCroix and then the vampires over from the kind of like the Asian district, and then the vampires that are basically leading a resistance. And it's really cool. It's got a lot of references to a lot of other vampire series in it. There's like some Anne Rice thrown in there, and other things of that nature. And it is just a really fun game. You can choose your character to be different types of vampires. My favorite is the Malkavian, which is basically they're insane and they hear voices. And the longer you go through the playthrough, the more voices you'll hear. And they have the option to seduce, and they can make people hallucinate and things of that nature. And they speak in really odd ways. Like, instead of asking someone to do something, or someone asks your character to go and don't come back until you've done something, and basically, or until you understand something, and your response is, I will wander to the words wiggle in my wigwam, instead of saying, I will go until I understand it. And it's really cool. Each vampire has a cool characteristic, and the leveling up system is pretty cool. You can have different powers and things of that nature, and I really enjoyed it.
So go back to you, Chris. What game did you love that nobody else liked?
One game that I loved and still love now, and people still generally hate it, is Enchanted Arms on the Xbox 360, later released on the PS3, which is a From Software RPG from the developers of the wonderful Dark and Demon Souls series, Shadow Tower Abyss, Kingsfield, so on. And it was hated because of one character, and that's because it was over eccentric in terms of his. It never actually says it in game, but it was clear that it was gay. And for some reason, people hated that. I don't understand why. I think it was because it was not first in RPGs, but probably a first in console RPGs.
I don't get stuff like that though, because it's like, why would you get really upset because a character's gay?
Well, that's it. There's no reason to get upset about it. The game itself is a fantastic RPG. It's got a nice little battle system, decent story, good soundtrack. Everything that you want from an RPG. But just because of that one character, it's which one is it? Is it in Will and Grace? What's
Jack?
Is it Jack?
Yeah, Jack's the gay one.
The really campy one. Yeah,
the really campy one. Multiply him by about 10 million. in terms of how camp he is, and then you've got that character in Enchanted Arms. For the life of me, the name escapes me.
So it's like more of a caricature, really.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it were a seriously gay character or if they were parodying like how camp some gay people can be.
Right.
But it was a character that came out with genuinely laugh out loud lines from what I remember, and I just really enjoyed it, and I still do today. I'm still trying to find the PS3 version because I had some extra content which the 360 version never got. But yeah, it was just annoying. People blatantly dismissed it from the first 5 minutes just because it was, hey guys, and all that. It's like, no, I hate the game already. Why?
How dare you, being gay, you promiscuous character, you.
Don't talk about me like I'm not here.
Yeah. So going on that,
I just never understood it.
I don't either, I'll tell you the truth. I don't get it. I think there was a theory going around. Apparently, one of the big theories like out there is that I think it was the game theorist who said it. That what the Japanese tend to do is because they don't seem to like gay characters very much, or transsexual characters. They would tend to make them evil. They would always be the antagonist in the game, or someone who ends up betraying you in the end for some weird reason. And apparently that's all to do with Japanese culture, but who knows? The relevance on that holds no bounds. But yeah, I agree. That's a lame reason why people should hate a certain character. So Sean, name a game. Sean's not there at the moment. I think he'll be back in a second. So I'll go for my next one.
I had it on mute. Sorry, I was chewing.
All right, go on, Sean. Go for your next game.
Mission Impossible for the Nintendo 64.
Tell us
Some
about
people
the game
dumped on it.
and the reason why you liked it and everyone else hated it.
Mission Impossible Nintendo 64.
Yeah, tell us why you loved it and why everyone else hated it.
I got wrapped right up. The story was great, and I to me anyway, right? And it was a time I dropped out of college and I was going through some things and that just personally. So I was kind of being a bit of a hermit there, and I bought myself a Nintendo 64, and I went out and garage saled a few games, and one of them was Mission Impossible. And I liked the series when I was a kid, and then they brought it back in the '80s for a little while, and then then there was Tom Cruise films, and I liked it. Friends of mine personally, they preferred, they found it better on the PlayStation because the PlayStation had more dialogue and things like that, and better music to go along with it.
But that was the same with most N64 games. People seem to have a problem with a lot of those games which are not named GoldenEye or Mario. Even Resident Evil 4, when that was on there, that was just like, just weren't the great games that they should have been, which is a shame. So
it's not a game. It was just more phoned in than anything, but it was adequate. I liked it. I passed a lot of time with it. And I haven't played in a little while now, but I'm going to go hunt around for it. Might have to do it slightly illegally, but I had fun when I was playing it before.
So my next game, I don't know if you guys have played this game. I picked up a copy of this game in basically it was out in '95. I picked up a copy in '99 for the PC. It was out on the PlayStation as well. It was called Psychic Detective.
That game.
It used a lot of live action footage and had loads of different character actors and stuff in it. The great thing about it is it's your character is this detective who can make people do shit. The one thing people had an issue with, this was at the time where games used a lot of cutscenes. They used a lot of film cutscenes and stuff, and they looked nice, but the controls are kind of point and click. Depending on how the mechanics are. There was bits I kept trying to make characters disrobe for me, and it didn't work because every time I tried that, they would come back into realization that I was trying to do that, and they would slap me, or it would go to game over. I was really, really frustrated as a child. But yeah, when I did that, play with the game, great story, kind of short, but it was a fun game. You could complete it within minutes if you knew basically the routes that you needed to go to. It was published by Electronic Arts as well. It was in a similar vein as games like Sam and Max, games like the Indiana Jones, and the Fate of Atlantis. And Maniac Mansion, like point and click kind of games. Really fun to play as well. There was a PlayStation 3DO versions and the PC version, which I had. I still got it, I think. I think it's in the box somewhere. Got it in the room somewhere or other.
Didn't it have something like 20 or 30 endings or something like that?
Yes. Multiple endings. People hated it. Hated this game. Because I think they felt that it wasn't a true game because it was point and clicky, which I believe there's a hell of a lot more to come out of this game. It was enjoyable. I loved the psychic powers, and I have to admit I was I was a fan of a different game that kind of used similar sequences than this, which was called Voya. I'm not going to talk about that too much, but yeah, I enjoyed it. Giggity. I enjoyed it. It was fun, and I used to spend a lot of time locked in my room playing it. So, moving on from that, Jamie, your next game, your next one, and your final pick of games that you loved that everyone else hated.
Sherlock Holmes: Crimes and Punishments.
Tell us about the game. I saw a preview of it on the MCM Comic Con. A lot of people hated it from the demo play. I didn't really get into it too much. Tell us why you liked it.
I liked it because I love Sherlock Holmes. I think that they characterize Sherlock Holmes really well in these games. There's more than one. I'm not sure how many there is, but I know I've seen walkthroughs of 2. They characterize Sherlock Holmes and Watson really well. The animation and everything is a bit wonky at times. It can bug out. But still, it's really impressive, trying to put together the puzzles and everything. I think it did really well itself, trying to be a Sherlock Holmes game and trying to show the stories. And there's even references to some of the other stories when you're playing. Like he has the poster from the story name escapes me, where he's trying to. I think it was like the Red-Headed League. Like, he has posters of that, or Sign of 4, I think. He has the poster of that still up there. You can find things that he's gotten throughout other, missions and stories throughout each of his apartment, each of his stories that are on there. And it's really clever. And I don't understand why it got such bad reviews, other than the fact that the animation was a bit buggy. I think it was really cleverly done.
Jamie?
Other than the fact that Watson was really creepy, and every time you turned around, Watson was like right there and would magically appear out of nowhere. That was horrifying.
Maybe Watson wanted your children. Oh
God.
So going on from that, let's ask you, Mr. Chris Anderson, your final pick of games that you loved that everyone else hated.
I've got a few to choose from, but one that stands out is Import Tuner Challenge on the Xbox 360. And that game is a highway racing game similar to Tokyo Highway Battle, Wangan Midnight, Maximum Tune, all that sort of thing, where you're racing on like Tokyo highways and tuning up cars. And yeah, people hated it because at the time when that came out, Wangan Midnight Maximum Tune was really popular in the arcades. It was absolutely massive, and a lot of people were playing that and Initial D. So, like, Japanese racing games were starting to surge a bit. I think it was developed by Genka, which are the guys who did the Tokyo Extreme Racer on the PlayStation 2 games. I think they released one on... Yeah, I think they released one on Dreamcast as well. And published by Ubisoft. And people hated it because it was stiff to start with. people complain about the story. I don't understand why, because games like that have never had a story. They've never been good if they do have a story. But it's all about the racing. It's all about setting that time on the highway, and it's all about one-on-one versing online, which it did have a small online community. But personally, I've always loved those type of games, even when people straight up pan them and hate on them. I've always loved them, and I remember the day I saw it. I was actually working at Game Station, and the Ubisoft rep came in and he says, "Oh, we've got some trailers to show you," and we saw Splinter Cell trailer. I think we saw something, I can't remember others, and then we saw Import Tuner Challenge. Literally 30 seconds after I watched that trailer, I put my name down on the system at work. I was like, right, that's pre-order for me. And I loved it, absolutely loved it. I sunk easily probably 500-600 hours into that game. And that was just because I had a few people online on Xbox Live where I had the friends to race, and it was always, right, we've got, it'd be a message, RX-7 exclusive race. So everybody would bring their RX-7s, what they've tuned up differently, and we'd race one-on-one, and we'd wait, and yeah, it was just an amazing time on the Xbox 360. I absolutely loved that game, and it's a shame we never got a sequel or anything similar, especially in recent memories.
So, let's go to you, Mr. Sean Michelin. Your final pick.
Ooh, that is a bit of a rough one. I was trying to think of a Game Boy game that I had played. I'm trying to remember what it was. To be honest, what was it? Damn it, I had it as a kid. Some people dumped on it. Just, I was really fond of the fighters, I guess. Fist of the North Star.
Ooh,
just because it was cheap.
Was it the PlayStation
No,
version?
for the Game Boy.
Ah, okay. The PlayStation version I heard got a lot of critical acclaim. Tell us about that. Why did it get ragged on?
No, some people just ragged on it for being cheap. I mean, besides like hand-to-hand combat, there was like a lot of distance attacks, and you could just really all you had to really do to beat the whole game is just to hop around, charge your shot, and kill somebody. Instead of actually going in one guy has whips, another guy has a rush attack and things like that. But I liked it. Friends of mine tried it and this is back in the day before internet and things like that, and try to get a friend of mine, at least one of them from school, try to get another copy of it so we can connect our Game Boys together and play it. 2 players. That's the only thing that sucked about a Game Boy game that was 2 players simultaneous. You had to have 2 fucking Game Boys, and nobody get it. Nobody go for it. I was so disappointed. Because then at least you could do the schoolyard thing of have a few people pass it around and that. That's why I have 2 PSPs now.
Well, and the last but not least, my final one is a game that I enjoyed. I played it emulated, and I also played it in the arcade. One of the things is GP. Simple
awesome
fact.
Game.
Great game. Only issue about it is it was just ridiculous in terms of the amount of money you would have to sink into the bloody thing to, even if you won a match, to kind of...
Namco developed that, didn't?
Yes, they did. Namco Bandai developed it for Nintendo, and it was a great game. It was part of their Triforce system, which included GameCube support for the game as well, and you could basically save your data on a GameCube a memory card, and then pop it into your Mario Kart Double Dash game to kind of you can unlock certain things using the arcade and also play from where you saved. So pretty good.
Yeah,
I loved
it. Sega developed did the same thing.
Yeah, I loved it. People hated it, and a lot of it was just because the fact that you had to keep popping coins in, because usually the definitive things of arcade games is you pop a coin in until you lose a life. With this, you'd complete a course and you'd have to pop another coin in. It was kind of dickish, but I understood it. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. These are the games that we loved that everyone else hated, and the reason being is, for us, we found playability in games that no one else felt that they really liked. And I feel that in terms of people, gamers have become a really bad critics in terms of games nowadays. Everyone's moaning and complaining if something doesn't work, or if they moan and complain. I haven't got an issue with a game if it's a bad game. I can always find like replay value in a bad game. My issue is if a game's broken and buggy. And I'm pointing the finger at you, Ubisoft. You've done it one too many times now. Where you've released a game that's broken and buggy. You did it once with Watch Dogs. You did it then with the Assassin's Creed Unity game. Come on, guys. So we can get your fucking shit together. But yeah, you can find playability in everything. Remember, we're coming from, especially if you're a retro gamer, you've got nothing to really complain about, because you're coming from the age of the Nintendo, of the Sega Master System, of the ColecoVision, of the Atari. When games were really bad, they were purposely hard because they were very limited, and you found enjoyment with those games. Why can't you find enjoyment with the games that you play now? Okay, so there's a little bit of food for thought for you. Now I want to end the show talking about something and someone who's important to me. We did an episode last year on Gamergate, and we did this episode because we wanted to talk about the fact that Gamergate, in all its sense and propriety, focused on bad journalism and ways to fix bad journalism. That's what the movement was on. They've done really good. They did really good work. They targeted sites like GameSutra, which now had a lot of its advertising.
As well.
Gawker, Kotaku, and Porygon. Sites that basically just wanted to tear apart gamers and be abusive towards its audience. And people who were basically they were getting paid to give a game a good review. Then this whole Gamergate and anti-Gamergate thing started. One of the worst things that it managed to do was give people like Anita Sarkeesian popularity, who've used it to make a shed ton of money, and also blame it as kind of a scapegoat for every time she had a cough or a fucking sweat. It's given people like Brianna Wu a kind of a platform to talk about her experiences with Gamergate by using that as a platform for her to be famous. She's kind of she wants to be Anita Sarkeesian. One of the things that I don't tend to tolerate when it comes to Gamergate or anti-Gamergate is bullying. A lot of people talk about the Gamergate side and how people use the hashtag to bully certain individuals, and I for one have spoken out against this, and I for one have gone on the Gamergate podcast and said to people, you need to sort your shit out. This was 4 months ago. This hasn't been sorted. You can't have a respectable movement unless you move all the fucking trolls out of that movement. That's my word of advice to Gamergate. To the anti-Gamergate people, I want to get you guys to understand one thing. You accuse these guys of doing something that you've done, and I want to talk about a person now who's been affected a lot. This person has been active in the movement for a long time. She was referred to me by a friend of the show by the name of Adam Thorne, who gave me her Twitter handle. She's known as Liz F. In February 11th, she posted a blog post on her blog, and I'm going to give you it by name because I have she's on my my bookmarks, and reason being, I think as kind of an individual who supports Gamergate, she's very she's not anti-feminism, she's anti bad journalism. And a lot of people pigeonhole Gamergate as being an anti-feminism movement, which is one of the facets, which is where I think it went wrong. Now she has a blog called Feels and Reels. It's feelsandreels.wordpress.com. And her facts and feelings, and she came clean on February 11th, 2015 about Gamergate. I'm going to read about this, just read this out to you guys and tell you why she's no longer with it. She goes, now that I'm no longer involved in discussion of Gamergate, I feel as though I can finally come clean about my true motivations for joining in the first place. I've often been asked a question about my initial draw to GG, the games in general, and I've always answered truthfully. It was an incomplete truth, but it was my final time mentioning Gamergate in any fashion. I was very sick when I was a teenager and originally diagnosed with chronic fatigue and immune deficiency syndrome, CFIDS. It's a fibro, Malaysia, and anemia. I later learned that I actually have lupus. Didn't change the fact that using the medication was prescribed almost killed me, and I was homeschooled throughout most of my high school due to my inability to function. I found solace in friendship through gaming, and those friendships that most likely saved my life. While I'm fairly certain that those experiences alone would have propelled me into discussion of Gamergate, there is a very big factor that I've omitted until recently, in which my true primary motivation. In August 2014, a friend on Twitter drew my attention to several articles that had been posted, later dubbed Gamers Are Dead. The first I read was by Gamer Sutra writer Lee Alexander. In this article, Miss Alexander described gamers in the following way. They don't know how to dress or behave. Game culture is a petri dish of people who know so little about human social interaction and professional life works that they concoct online wars about social justice or gaming journalism articles. She used the entire article to demonize a certain and very specific type of person, a young man who isn't socially tuned into her idea of acceptable social behavior, who doesn't know the right way to behave or engage or dress or shop or live, and who does not care about the things that she does. Lee Alexander was described a male version of my 3-year-old daughter. My little girl was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder and global development delay days after her 2nd birthday. We were blessed enough to receive an iPad grant through a local foundation, which opened up a huge world to her. She began using PECS, picture communication, to request time with her iPad, and she then began using it to request other things. Her first word was iPad. She had an inexplicable fascination with Fruit Ninja. I had always been the sort of parent to limit television electronics to certain times and amounts. That all went out of the window with her. Went out of the window because the only reason I've ever heard my baby girl's voice was because of a game. At age 3, she can now identify every letter in the alphabet out of order, upper and lower case. She can count to 30 and backwards, from 20 without a single error. She can spell words, she can identify every colour and shape, yet she cannot say no if she doesn't want something. She cannot express when she does not want something. She cannot socialise with other children or with adults. She will fall into a sensory meltdown and cannot tell us how to help ease her struggles. She does not know the right way to behave or engage or dress. She is the person Lee Alexander described with blatant and unapologetic contempt. I discussed Gamergate because I cared about ethics. I discussed Gamergate because I cared about censorship. I discussed Gamergate because I cared about ideological manipulation. But I started discussing Gamergate because I'm a mother whose child was being misunderstood, a mother whose child was being attacked, a mother who saw a woman, a privileged, spoiled woman, talking about things she never lived and could never understand, a mother who watched the woman vilify all things I love most about my child, her ability to focus on understand, to slow down, the most importantly, to be and love herself, and that pissed me off. My motivation, my first primary motivation for joining the discussion was selfish, and I don't apologise for that. We are all people. We have our own motivations. We are all human beings with feelings, and we deserve to be treated with some goddamn dignity. She left the Gamergate movement recently because she was being hounded, because her own family was being threatened, because some freaking troll who is anti-GG basically threatened her safety and well-being and the safety and well-being of her family. A woman who is passionate about her children, a woman who is passionate about her family, and a woman who is passionate because she wants to see her child develop and grow, despite the things that most people, like the person who wrote that article previously that she attested to, Miss Lee Alexander, of course, says isn't socially acceptable. This is where I draw the line. For those, if you're pro-GG, if you're anti-GG, if you're just in the middle and you're sick and tired of hearing it, You have no fucking right to deem what's acceptable and what's not acceptable to people. You have no right to threaten someone and force them to leave a movement that she supports because she was just defending her child. Who the fuck do you think you are? My message is simple, my message is clear. We will no longer be talking about Gamergate or anti-Gamergate movements on this podcast. We will no longer be supporting either way. We will no longer be commenting on it. And we will no longer be assisting. And I'll tell you the reason why. Because the people that are most vocal, the ones who basically scream the loudest, are the fucking complete dipshitted morons who have no fucking clue what is acceptable and is social. We are all unique, we are all beautiful. And you have no right to fucking tell people what they can and can't do. You are the reason why the internet is poison and why government officials are trying to plead their cases to shut us down. You despicable, you disgusting human beings. And I really want to give you a great big thank you because you turned someone who was a major part of the movement and you made her run because she was afraid. And you have no right to make her afraid. Now, going on from that, let's ask your opinions on this, guys. Jamie, what do you think?
I think it's fucking despicable thinking about it like that. You know, it's. I'll say it to you like this. I'm not comparing her situation to me in any way possible. But I get a lot of shit for watching video games and not playing them. And you want to know why I don't play them? It's because I can't sit upright 90% of the time. Because when I sit upright, my heart rate goes to 145 and I pass out. To think that someone was targeted because of their health, because they think that this is an inappropriate way to be involved in the gaming community because we're just unsocial pricks. And it hurts because I know how it feels. It hurts when you hear that someone in your community, I have chronic fatigue. I have a lot of things that this woman was diagnosed with. We thought I had lupus. I'll put it that way. We thought I had lupus. I know what it's like to have a sensory overload like her child, because I can't go out in public a lot, because if you get me out in public, I crash. There are times at cons where I have to get away. And it's difficult to live, let alone if you can find solace in anything you do. I find solace in making clay and in watching video games. I can't play them because I can't comprehend it. I can't comprehend the story unless I watch it first without actually interacting with it. To get shit for that, I can see why she turned and ran, and it's fucking pathetic and it makes me sick.
Chris?
And to that woman, I want to say that I apologize, and I wish her and her family all the love and luck in the world.
Thank you, Jamie. Chris?
It's just disgusting, like you say, what it has become. Nobody, regardless of what you believe in, Gamergate, anti-Gamergate, religion, drugs, I don't give a fuck. You shouldn't be made to feel scared or threatened or have your family, or you shouldn't be threatened at all because of something that you believe in. And to be honest, it's in situations like this, it is terrible what's happened. But a lot of the louder people, as you say, like the ones that scream the loudest and all that sort of shit, they're also the biggest hypocrites.
Tell me about it.
And it's I can't remember who said it, I think it was Confucius or something like that, and it says people who say much know nothing. People who know much say nothing. So it's like you got all these people saying this, that, other. You should do this. This should do that. They actually know fuck all. They know about their privileged lives, and they just think what they know. They don't actually know the truth. The people who stay quiet about it and just get on with it, they're the ones who know a lot more. And it's because they've got they've got the mental capacity to have a cognitive thought process. And nobody should be made to feel scared or threatened. And it is absolutely disgusting.
No, I agree with you. Coming from someone who's basically had to deal with this myself a lot in my childhood, you don't do this. We're adults here, people. We're in a community. There's supposed to be love. You don't do stuff like this.
It's just when all this Gamergate stuff started, I immediately felt ashamed because of the comments I was reading. This was at the beginning of it. The comments I was reading, the things people were saying, and there was one comment I read, and it wasn't actually that long ago. It might have been even a few days. Anita Sarkeesian has been supported by the developers of Towerfall Ascension in the form of they've made a playable character that sort of looks like her. Fair enough that they believe in her cause, whatever. I'm not interested in that. But one of the comments that was made, I just thought, Jesus fucking, you need to sort yourself out because you shouldn't be making comments like that. It was great. Now I can actually kill Anita Sarkeesian. And I was just like, really? You're really gonna put that on a public thing that you openly want to kill her? Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
When I see things like that, I'm ashamed that when people have these broad views of gamers,
I agree.
And it's like we're not all like that. But the fact that we all get pigeonholed like that is fucking disgusting.
Yeah, I agree. It's manipulation at its core, and the problem is, this is the reason why movements like this don't succeed. And you know, Gamergate's done a lot of positive things. It's done a lot of positives, but you can't do this. You can't attack one another. You know, Anita Sarkeesian has thrived because of Gamergate. She's thrived because Gamergate has become the bad demon in the room. It's the monster in the monster movie. And she thrived because of it. You know,
to be honest, I've said it before, Gamergate is something that will go away if people forget it exists. Because people are fueling it, and people are fueling the anti-Gamergate and so on, and it's that age-old internet rule that's been there since the dawn of time. Don't feed the troll.
No, I agree. And Sean, would you like to sound off?
Yeah, all I'm gonna say is that I totally agree with everybody there, but logical and nice open discussions, which really realistically are hard to come by when it comes to this movement. We, not to pick one side or the other, but a lot of people say, well, you get more of the logic and more of the manners from the Gamergate side, but at the same time, both sides have their bad apples as well. I mean, both sides have had people doing doxings and things like that, and even like prominent members of the anti-side there, including Adam Sessler himself, saying that he condoned the doxing of Gamergaters, and But I mean, like when you have people who just incite more fury around something, and at the same time be able to play the victim game, it's it really detracts from the side that's trying to do something good, and it demonizes them. But at the same time, now they're hitting the Gamergaters now, and there was even swattings and things like that, and other people. This isn't the first of people who have left the movement. An internet aristocrat actually logged out of it, so to speak. One of the original, like, I guess you could say, flag bearers for the movement.
He did a lot.
But
He
I mean,
was a huge part of it. And what was his reason for leaving?
He just, I think it was pretty much he just got fed up with it, with some of it just being, you couldn't tell one foot was dealing with the other, because apparently the anti-Gamergate side were hiring people to go in posing as Gamergaters on 8chan to try to disrupt things and try to, plant, disseminants and things like that in there. Because, they're trying to, was it one of the guys from Gawker, his personal Facebook? He was, counting his chickens before he hatched about this, and he posted it, and somebody from within his camp, who was actually a mole, I guess you could say, saw this and posted directly on Facebook, and pretty much busted him. He's not even in charge of Gawker now, by the way. There's actually a board running it right now. He's had to step down as chief operating officer, as well as the quote-unquote owner. They hemorrhaged over $1 million in cash because they lost so much ad revenue, because they lost so many advertisers. But when you start getting people doing this and swatting, and I think, was it King Pole or whatever his name was? He got not swatted, he got 911'd. And somebody found out who he was. He got doxxed, and then somebody said that he was there trying to commit suicide or something like that, which wasn't true. And it's happened from both sides. But sometimes you don't know whether you can believe it. Like, Anita Sarkeesian canceled her speaking arrangement because apparently she coincidentally got threatened a day or two before she was going to go speak, but nothing ever came of it. No
apparently she's
investigation
got it in
turned up
her
or anything.
contracts where she gets paid regardless. So she got, a lot of it's been that question that she does it just for publicity purposes. Now
That's the thing, right?
Yeah, no, but that's my thing, and the reason I got involved in the movement to begin with was because I'm pro-journalism. I believe ethics in journalism needs to be there. But I talked to a friend of mine, Caitlin Dooley. She works from Fanboys Anonymous. She writes for them. She did an anti-Gamergate article because a lot of members in there using the Gamergate hashtag were harassing people who didn't agree with their movement, and you don't do that. You don't. And that's the thing. And I'm not condemning one side or the other. I'm condemning both.
Exactly.
You can't,
and it's happened from both sides.
Yeah, and you can't. It's a shame. It's really a shame, because people have fucked this movement up. And on the other side, they're going to be like, "Oh, we take this as a win." You've got nothing to fucking. This is a tainted win. You've got nothing to feel great about. You fucked people up, It's
like getting a win by DQ, right? Like, that's...
Yeah, it's not great. And, you bullying is fucked up. Come on, people. Get your fucking head straight. She did not deserve this. If you want to follow her, if you're going to unfollow her because she's not pro Gamergate anymore, that's up to you. But I will put her Twitter down on here. Follow her. She's very insightful, very interesting. She does a blog as well. Make sure that you check out her blog. It's on WordPress. And I'll give you the blog name on there. It is Feels and Reels. All you've got to do is click on the blog and click follow to follow it. It is feelsandreels.wordpress.com. You can follow her on Twitter at LizzieF620. She's pro-choice. She's not a Democrat. She's pro-gun, not a Republican. Pro-equality, not a feminist. Pro-bacon. Yes, she's a baconist. So make sure that you follow her on there. She's followed by Yuri of Win. She's followed by Adam Baldwin as well, who created the hashtag Gamergate movement. She's an awesome person. She's interesting, and she talks about her hobbies in gaming, her love for her children, and posts loads of memes and stuff as well. Okay? And I will point this out to people. If you're a fan of Anita Sarkeesian and you post pictures of her killing someone, Yeah, that you literally can't complain when someone's posting stuff saying that they want to kill Anita. I'm not saying I'm pro that. I'm not. But you want equality. You feel people are holding you down. Then fucking act respectful. Don't start trolling people, harassing them, and threatening their families. You have no fucking right. If it's a game developer who's made a bad game, question the game, talk to the developers, be open with them and say, hey, we've got an issue with this. If it's someone who you don't like Anita Sarkeesian, I use the block button. It works really well so I don't have to receive any of her posts. And I also debate her as well. I basically question her ethics in terms of certain things. She doesn't reply, and then we go on from there. You don't have to go down this road because it's barbaric, it's animalistic, and it's cowardly. You know why? Because you're just a person in front of a keyboard typing threats. You're not. No one can see your face. No one can see who you are. But that doesn't make you anonymous, because eventually you do it once too many times. The police are going to find you because they can track your IP address.
Mm-hmm.
Going on from that, that's the last I'm ever going to say of this. Follow Liz on Twitter. Follow her blog. And, best of health to her and her family. And for those who have taken part of it, if you listen to this show, I suggest you just walk away. Because if you bully people, you're not a Michael Burhan person. I will not like you. If you treat people like shit, I don't want anything to do with you. And neither does anyone else on this show. For those of you who don't, welcome aboard. We'd love to have you. Now let's go to the plugs. Jamie, where can we find you?
You can find me on Facebook at Hazardous Cosplay. We will be attending Conuga at the end of this month. Look for us in our newly completed Red vs. Blue and Ruby cosplays. I am currently doing a video blog, not on my channel, but I'm recording each and every progress that I make on my Neapolitan, and at the end of it, I'm going to put it all into a big video, and I'm going to post it on my channel so everyone can see how she was made and all the strides that I went through making her. This will, of course, include a little tidbit about me. On February 2nd, the day that we found out that the creator Monty Young had passed. So we will be going to Conuga in our Red Rooster Teeth cosplays. We will be wearing Rooster Teeth cosplays to every single con this year in memory of Monty Young. And we were also hosting a photo shoot at Conuga for Ruby and Rooster Teeth fans alike, to come and talk about experiences. Maybe they met Monty or just they enjoy his work. So look forward to getting lots of video footage of that put up on my channel. And you can also follow me on Twitter and Tumblr at GVirusJunkie, and check out my Etsy shop, Shimeji Crafts. I post a whole bunch of stuff. I've got some new little clay chibis up there, and that should be it for me.
And Chris, where can we find you?
You can find me over on on pixelswithoutborders.co.uk. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, at official_PWB. You can also find live streams that I do as often as possible on Twitch TV, twitch.tv/pixelswithoutborders. Also, YouTube, Pixels Without Borders. Also, we have a weekly podcast on iTunes. And that's about it. You can find me just all over. Just search Pixels Without Borders and you'll find us. We take up the entire first page of Google, which is awesome.
So, Sean, what about you?
You can find me on YouTube and Instagram and Twitter and in Instructables.com as Dietless79, DAIATLUS79. Besides YouTube, I also write instructional tutorials on a lot of different things on there. Original Xbox, hacking, modding, how to use Linux for video capture setup, etc., etc. My Facebook, though, is Sean J. Michelin. You can just come and find me, friend me if you want. I do have a like page, but I find it's just more personal. Just reach out. But new stuff will be on the way a bit soon. It's just been hectic at work. I just punched 101.5 hours in about 2 weeks of work. At one point, I worked 30 hours within a 36 hour. About a 40-hour period.
Wow.
I'm tired.
You can find me youtube.com/TheNerdGenius. That's where this is being streamed on at the moment, because the Retro Unlim network has been basically rather limited in terms of streaming purposes because of Warner Music Group, who think that because there was a 2-minute bit of like audio on Burhan and the Boy, basically they thought they could basically put a strike on my content, on our content, and take down one of our videos and stop us from streaming anything further. We are dealing with this at the moment. Hopefully it should be dealt with in the next 10 days and the channel will be restarted, hopefully. For those of you who still listen to the show, you can find it on youtube.com/Unlim Radio, usually on here for the meantime. You can also find us on our iTunes page, itunes.com/podcast/IGotGameplay. And guys, you can also find us on nerdgenius.com. Silent Hill, there's some news coming up about that I'm going to go into later on. I'll do a video about it. We've got the Kickstarter page coming, the website's nearly updated, and we've got a load more stuff. You're going to find me as well. I'm going to be launching my own personal site, michaelburhan.com, where you can find my videos, show reels, voice reels, all my acting stuff and credentials on their director's reels. And I will also be debuting this week a short film director's cut that I released for the 48-hour film project called What We Are, starring Marcus E. Ako and Grace Davis. So for Jamie Styles, for Sean Michelin, for Chris Sanderson, this is Michael Burhan saying to each and every one of you, be good to each other, love one another, and show each other some respect. And also that we've got gameplay. Have you?